consistent policy brings stability to bilateral relations. Democrats sweep key races in blow to Donald Trump. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today with me, Darryl Baptist. His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia, shared his views on the importance of consistent government policy implementation during his meeting with Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. Sultan Ibrahim said the discussion at Al Yamamah Palace took place in a warm atmosphere and touched on various matters of mutual interest to both nations. His Majesty said Prince Mohammed is very knowledgeable about the various matters that were discussed. The King stressed that the consistent policy will bring stability to bilateral relations and provide confidence to attract investments to a country. His Majesty also praised Saudi Vision 2030, which is an effort to develop the Holy Land to a better level through economic diversification, citizen empowerment, and the provision of a vibrant environment for investors. Earlier, Sultan Ibrahim was accorded a state welcome at the Al Yamamah Palace in conjunction with his 4-day state visit to Saudi Arabia. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said his working visit to China aims to further strengthen the bilateral relations between Malaysia and China. He said the visit will help enhance cooperation in the halal industry, technical and vocational education and training, also known as TVET, and trade. Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid said this is in line with the shared commitment to the new golden era of Malaysia-China cooperation. He said during the visit he is scheduled to attend the opening of the 8th China International Import Expo. In addition, he will officiate the Malaysia International Halal Showcase, also known as MIHAS Shanghai, which serves as a platform to promote Malaysia's halal industry to the global market. He will also witness several memoranda of understanding exchanges between Malaysian agencies and China industry players. He expressed hope that the visit would reflect Malaysia's continued commitment to strengthening trust, driving innovation, and opening new opportunities that benefit the people of both nations. Over in the US, New Yorkers have elected young leftist Zoran Mamdani as their next mayor. Democrats also won 2 key state governor races as US voters delivered an early warning to President Donald Trump ahead of next year's midterms. The Democratic Party's victories in Virginia and New Jersey suggest a shift in political mood as the country looks to next year's midterm elections when control of Congress will be up for grabs. Mamdani will become New York's first Muslim mayor when he takes office in January. He trounced former Governor Andrew Cuomo, while Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa came in third. In New Jersey, Democratic Party candidate Mikey Sherrill beat out Republican Jack Ciattarelli as a businessman backed by Trump. In Virginia's race for governor, Democratic candidate Abigail Spanberger unseated a Republican incumbent to beat Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. The clean sweep of the top contests among several ballots nationwide will boost morale for Democrats bruised by Trump's onslaught since returning to the White House. It also set alarm bells ringing in Republican circles. The U.S. government shutdown entered its 35th day, matching a record set during Donald Trump's first presidency. His administration warned of potential chaos at airports going into one of the busiest travel periods of the year. The federal closure appears almost certain to become the longest in history, with no major breakthroughs expected before it goes into its 6th week. The government has been grinding to a halt since Congress failed to approve funding past 30th September. A pain has been mounting as welfare programs hang in limbo. About 1.4 million federal workers, from air traffic controllers to park wardens, have been placed on enforced leave without pay or made to work for nothing. The Trump administration sounded the alarm over turmoil at airports nationwide if the shutdown drags into a 6th week, worsening staff shortages, snarling airport lines, and closing down sections of airspace. On a related note, as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP benefits, went dry for Americans across the country, food banks are struggling to stay on top of the sharp increase in demand. Maria Elena Onega, a customer at the Mana Food Center in Silver Spring, Maryland, noted that there is now less food available at the center compared to before, when there used to be a greater variety of products.
Sí, claro, hay más necesidad, entonces están calculando cuánto le van a dar a cada persona ahora. Sí, se ve la diferencia. Antes daban un montón, porque nosotros llevábamos un montón y no sabíamos qué hacer, entonces dábamos un poquito a los vecinos, se necesitaba, a la gente mayores, más mayor que nosotros, sí.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Mana Food Center, Craig Rice, explained that the organization relies on surplus items from grocery stores as part of its community food rescue program. However, he said as tariffs increase and the economy tightens, profit margins at many grocery stores have become slimmer. This leads to fewer overages and consequently fewer donations to the food center.
And so it costs us more to serve a family than it did just last year. We've seen an increase. One of our, for our box delivery and box supply that we do for our Food for Families distribution, we've seen an increase of about $42 per family to $75 per family in just 1 year.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's government has unveiled a historic budget aimed at overhauling an economy that is reeling from U.S. tariffs and expected to slow this year and 2026. Under the proposed 2025-2026 spending plan, Canada's deficit would nearly double from last year, reaching 78.3 billion Canadian dollars. This is part of Carney's efforts to reform Canada's economy.
Au pays afin de transformer notre économie. On souhaite le faire passer d'une économie dépendante d'un seul partenaire commercial à une économie plus forte, plus autonome et plus résiliente aux chocs mondiaux.
Under the plan, Ottawa plans to save 60 billion Canadian dollars over 5 years in its public service. It will also reinvest the money freed up in infrastructure, defense, and housing to help Canada navigate the global economic upheaval caused by the U.S. tariffs. Carney's Liberal government said the budget will address the stark new geopolitical realities facing Canada. Singapore will impose caning as part of mandatory punishment for scammers under a new criminal law ratified yesterday after the nation lost nearly 4 billion Singapore dollars to scams over the past 6 years. Singaporean daily The Straits Times reported those convicted of running or aiding scam syndicates will face at least 6 strokes of the cane, in addition to fines and prison sentences. The maximum punishment is 24 strokes, depending on the severity of the offence. Under the new law, syndicate members recruiters and accomplices, including money mules who provide bank accounts, SIM cards or digital identities, will also be held accountable. Other amendments to the bill include tougher penalties on sexual offences, fatal abuse of vulnerable victims, doxing of public servants, and the distribution of obscene material. Those who circulate obscene content to 10 or more people can face up to 2 years in prison or up to 4 years if the material is of someone under 18.
Still ahead, typhoon flooding kills over 60 in Philippines.
Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
Aid trucks continued to enter the besieged Gaza Strip under a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Among the convoys crossing through the Rafah border were shipments from Turkish aid organizations. Aid convoys, mostly carrying food supplies, have been moving through multiple crossings, including Karim Shalom and Kusufum, to assist the victims of Israel's 2-year-long war on Gaza. However, they are in a race against time to provide sufficient aid to alleviate suffering in Gaza, as there are not enough crossing points open. Gaza's local administration said most trucks are still not reaching their destinations due to Israeli restrictions, and only about 145 per day are delivering supplies. A ceasefire deal took place on the 10th of October in the Gaza Strip, based on a phased plan presented by US President Donald Trump. Belgium's Brussels airport was closed after drone sightings, diverting many incoming planes and preventing others from taking off. A spokesperson for the Belgian Air Traffic Control Service, Kurt Verlingham, said shortly before 8 p.m. local time, a drone had been seen near Brussels airport, which was then closed as a security precaution. Belgium's busiest airport briefly reopened after 2 hours of disruption, but was closed again after more drone sightings. National carrier Brussels Airlines said 15 outbound flights were unable to take off, while 8 incoming flights were diverted to other airports. The incidents followed drones seen over a Belgian military airbase during the weekend.
Just waiting because they just said that you can, we're going to book you for another flight the next day. Now we don't know the timing, but let's see what happens.
At least 7 people died and several more were injured after a UPS cargo plane crashed shortly after takeoff from Louisville International Airport in Kentucky. The plane exploded into flames as it crashed into businesses adjacent to the airport, sending a massive plume of black smoke over the area. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said he expected the number of dead and injured to rise. He also said the aircraft departing for Hawaii hit a petroleum recycling facility pretty directly. UPS said in a statement that 3 crew members were on board the plane. The cause of the crash is under investigation by the Federal Aviation Administration and the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board. More disaster. At least 4 people were killed and several others were injured after a passenger train collided with a freight train in Bilaspur district of India's central Chhattisgarh. The accident occurred when the passenger train overshot the signal and rammed into the stationary goods train near Lal Kadan area. The mangled carriage of the local passenger train was seen mounted over the last carriage of the freight train as rescuers look for survivors. The accident's impact derailed multiple coaches and damaged overhead wires and signals systems, thus halting train operations on the route.
जो फर्स्ट बोगी जो है उसमें आपस में एक्सीडेंट हुआ है और इसके कारण से घटना हुई है। इसमें अभी तक 4 कैजुअल्टी का पता लगा है। रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन अभी चल ही रहा है।
India's extensive rail network, the 4th largest in the world, is plagued by issues of aging infrastructure and human error, which often result in train collisions. An avalanche at a mountain base camp in eastern Nepal killed at least 7 people, including 3 Italians, as efforts are underway to retrieve their remains. The avalanche hit a group of 12 people at the base camp of 5,630-meter Yalungri Peak on Monday morning. Expedition organizer Dreamer's Destination said a German and a French climber also died, along with 2 Nepalis. The 5 surviving climbers, including 2 French and 2 Nepalis, were rescued yesterday morning. Home to 8 of the world's 10 highest peaks, Nepal welcomes hundreds of climbers and trekkers every year. Autumn season is the second most popular time for Himalayan expeditions, despite colder days, snowy terrain, and a narrow summit window compared to the busy spring. More than 60 people have been killed and hundreds of thousands displaced as rains driven by Typhoon Kamailigi flooded swathes of the central Philippines. Entire towns off the island of Cebu have been inundated, while cars, trucks, and shipping containers could be seen swept along by muddy floodwaters. In the 24 hours before Kalmaigi's landfall, the area around Cebu City was deluged with 183 millimeters of rain, well over its 131 millimeter monthly average. Hundreds still living in tents cities after a 6.9 magnitude quake rocked the island in September were forcibly evacuated for their own safety. In total, nearly 400,000 people were preemptively moved from the typhoon's path. The typhoon is now moving westwards through the Visayan Island chain, weakening slightly with winds of 120 kilometers per hour and gusts of 165 kilometers per hour. Survivors of a 6.3 magnitude earthquake picked through shattered homes and propped up cracked walls, saying rain had soaked already unstable structures and left families sleeping in courtyards without shelter. In Kulm, residents said an overnight storm worsened the conditions as children were coughing in the cold.
در اینجا ما شب در روی اولی شب روز کردیم، اما متاسفانه شب طوفان هم شد که تو یک طوفانی که هیچ وقت ما ندیده بودیم. تفلکا و اشتکاکا کلگی امروز سلفه کردن، مریض شدن. کمک که برای ما برای مسلمان‌ها میرسانن، اولا باید کمک‌های اولیه را باید اول اقدام بکنن.
Aid began to trickle in with a World Food Program truck reaching the area, but damaged roads and weak infrastructure were slowing relief. Authorities said the quake struck near Mazar-i-Sharif early on Monday, killing at least 27 people and injuring almost 1,000. Afghanistan is prone to a range of natural disasters, but its earthquakes are the most deadly, killing about 560 people on average each year. Next up in sports, Al Ahly shine in thrilling Asian Champions League round.
Lebih menjimatkan memasak dengan jerit penuh.
Now for our sports segment, Johor Darul Tazim, or more fondly known as JDT, are prepared to deliver a high-intensity performance when they face Shanghai Shenhua FC in their AFC Champions League Elite, or ACLE, group match at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium tonight. Head coach Cisco Munoz said his players are ready to raise their tempo and play with aggression as they target a crucial home victory. He acknowledged that away matches in the competition are always challenging, which makes performing strongly at home all the more important.
We have a positive reverse because we play at home. It's sure we have a very good atmosphere, and this is what we try to keep our momentum, because I think we are in very good momentum. We need to show our character, we need to show our personality, our style, and it's important to have a complete game.
Meanwhile, Shanghai Shenhua head coach Leonid Slutsky expects a tough challenge from the Southern Tigers, praising JDT's distinctive playing style and strong home record. He described JDT as one of the most dynamic and entertaining teams in the competition, noting their technical ability and attacking flair.
But in any case, I think in counter-attack we have a chance, and also we have a chance in position attack. And for me, Johor very good offensively, but has some problem in defense.
JDT defeated Shanghai Shenhua 3-0 in their ACLE encounter last season. In the same competition, defending champions Al Ahly defeated Qatar's Al Saad 2-1 in Doha to continue their unbeaten start to the league phase of the ACLE, as Al Ittihad secured a big 3-0 win over Al Sharjah in Jeddah. Riyad Mahrez put Matthias Jaisel's side in front in the 34th minute when the former Manchester City winger made the most of the home side's defensive deficiencies. Al Saad midfielder Claudinho gave up possession deep inside his own half as the visitors pressed, and the ball was worked to Enzo Milot, who set up Mahrez to place a clinical shot into the bottom corner beyond Meshal Barsham. Claudinho made amends in the 63rd minute when he fired into the top corner to pull the Qatari side level. However, 5 minutes later, Matthias Goncalves' left-foot strike from a tight angle had too much power for Barsham to keep out. Al Ahly picked up their third victory of the campaign to move on to 10 points from the opening 4 rounds to sit in second place in the standings, 2 points behind their compatriots Al Hilal. In another match, goals from Steven Bergwijn, Karim Benzema and Roger Fernandez earned Al Ittihad their victory over Al Sharjah from the United Arab Emirates, as the Saudi champions completed back-to-back wins in the league phase. Al Ittihad lost their opening 2 matches in a competition they last won in 2005. But Bergwijn gave them the perfect start with a well-placed header from 12 meters out in the 8th minute. Benzema hit the second goal in the 66th minute when the former Real Madrid forward arrived unmarked in the penalty area to side-foot in Moussa Diaby's centre from the left. Rubbing salt in the wounds of Al Sharjah, Fernandez slid in to score the third goal 4 minutes into stoppage time. The win moves Al Ittihad up to 6th in the standings, 6 points behind Al Hilal as the 12-team league phase in West Asia reaches the midway point. Elsewhere, Buriram United outclassed Shanghai Port to breeze to a 2-0 win in the ACLE at home in Thailand. Supachai Chaided put the home side in front in the 15th minute, and Curtis Good poked home the second 20 minutes after the interval to leave Kevin Muscat's Shanghai side rooted to the bottom of the Eastern League phase with 1 point. The win shot Buriram up to 5th place in the standings with 6 points ahead of Melbourne City on goal difference. The top 8 finishers in the 12-team table advanced to March's knockout rounds with the quarter-finals, semis and final to be played on a centralized basis in Saudi Arabia in April. From one Champions League to the next, in the UEFA Champions League, Bayern Munich made its 16 wins from 16 games this season to underline their credentials as early Champions League favourites, beating holders Paris Saint-Germain 2-1 away as Luis Diaz scored 2 goals and was shown a red card. The Colombian winger struck twice before being sent off for a violent tackle on Achraf Hakimi on the stroke of half-time. PSG, who reduced the areas through João Neves, dominated possession after the break, but failed to make it fully count and slipped to their first defeat in the competition since last season's quarter-final second leg against Aston Villa. The result kept Bayern top of the 36-team league on a maximum 12 points, with PSG in third, 3 points adrift. Over in tennis, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka overcame 5th seed Jessica Pegula in 3 sets, 6-4, 2-6, 6-3 at the WTA finals. The 27-year-old Sabalenka went the full distance as her American opponent made her breakpoints count to level the game after 2 sets. Sabalenka recovered from an early break in the deciding set to average her recent loss to Pegula in the Wuhan semi-finals. The Belarusian world number 1 could only convert 4 of her 16 breakpoints she created as Pegula fought until the bitter end. A total of 10 of Pegula's last 11 matches have gone to 3 sets. This was just her second 3-set loss within that stretch. Sabalenka's victory sends her to the top of her group and on the verge of the semi-finals in Riyadh after beating Jasmine Paolini in her first game of the tournament. Sabalenka will face Coco Gauff in her final group match later in the week and will have her eye on Saturday's showpiece final, having finished runner-up in 2022. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, consistent policy brings stability to bilateral relations. Tune into Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. Until next time, Malaysia, my name is Darryl Baptist, Malaysia Madani, Rakyat, Disantuni. Thank you for watching and all the best for the rest of the day. Goodbye.